This is Sage's go home video. Sage is a young lab. She's adorable. Out here at the park today to do a little bit of obedience, get some distractions. See how she does out at the park. Sage's obedience has been coming along really well. We're super excited. It's nice to get out to the park. Today's a super nice day, so there's a ton of people. Kids running around, some dogs running around. Some really good distractions, so we'll see how she does today.
Okay, Sage, come. Yes, good girl. Sit. Very good.
Sage is super food motivated. So anytime we have a dog that's food motivated, we love to take advantage of it. It just makes for a little flashier and more fun obedience. So right there in healing, we want the dogs to do an automatic sit. So when we stop walking, the dog is supposed to sit. Gina went to pet Sage and she laid down. So instead of letting that behavior happen, Gina took a couple steps back, got Sage into the heel position again, and had her sit and stay in the sit again. It's really not the end of the world if a dog lays down in the sit. It's kind of up to the owners if they want to keep up with that or let them go into a down or stay in a sit. We prefer the sit. It just kind of makes the obedience just a little bit, or it puts a little bit more guidelines on the obedience, and so we like the guidelines, and so we like the guidelines to kind of make obedience just a little bit more work. The more the dogs have to use their brain and they have to follow the rules that we kind of put in place, the more tired they're going to be after a walk, and the more stimulated and fulfilled they're going to feel because of the obedience. So that's the reason why we like to do the sit. It kind of comes from our competition obedience as well. All of our dogs, when they're healing, if we stop, they sit. That's part of the rules for our competition obedience. So so we just kind of adapted that over to pet dogs as well, and we really prefer them to sit, just to add those rules that we were talking about.
Stay.
So when we do these walks, we always want to keep them different. We always want to work on a bunch of different things. We never want to just kind of do a straight line walk and make it really boring for the dog. So we want to make it challenging. We want them to be successful, so we make our challenges around distractions, like those kids over there, but not right next to them. Especially our down stays. We want to take that distance and we want to start working closer and closer to these different distractions. If we can make obedience challenging while keeping it probably 80% successful, that's seems to be a really good, kind of a really good percentage to hit, so that the dog is having to use their brain quite a bit, but they're not going to shut down because they're always wrong, or not getting rewarded because they're not successful. So it's a nice fun balance of keeping things kind of going back and forth, with the balance of helping dogs be correct and helping dogs be wrong. So dogs actually need to fail at certain things so that they can learn. So if they're right 100% of the time, they're never really going to learn anything new. They're not going to be pushed into new situations. So Gina took a really wide berth here. So we have loose dogs. So that's why Gina turned around and walked the other way. It was just to kind of check out, to pay attention to what this dog might do before she decided whether or not she wanted to walk by the dog, or if she could walk by the dog safely. So this is something that a lot of people kind of miss when they're out on their walks is they're not necessarily paying attention to the environment around them. It's super important that you pay attention to dogs and kids and everything that could possibly kind of come up just on the off chance something bad happens, right? So Sage hasn't had a bad experience with dogs while she's been with us, but if that dog would have come up, run up, and just started attacking Sage or something like that, when it was a situation that was avoidable, and Sage now has a problem because of that, it's unfortunate that we weren't paying attention to our environment for a completely avoidable situation. So before Gina walked by, she just made sure that the dog wasn't going to do anything, made sure that the dog wasn't paying an overt amount of attention to Sage.
Girl. Heel.
So in that right there, that down that Sage just did, Gina told her to down and she did it super fast. So that's one of the things that we absolutely love about dogs with really good food drive. It's one of the reasons why we love training young dogs. We can help build that food drive. Much easier to teach a young dog to be excited for food than it is an older dog. So we really love to have that opportunity. So at first, the first probably 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes of the video, Sage was just a little bit distracted by some of the environmental stuff going on. Really normal that you see that. Sage is going to be a little bit distracted. She's going to see if she can get away with some stuff, you know, see if she can be a little looser in her heeling or anything like that. Now that Sage has started to settle into her obedience just by walking through it and still asking her to continue to do the obedience around the distractions, you can see now that Sage is about 90% of the time staring at Gina, which is really awesome. These definitely aren't easy distractions, and so it's really nice to, especially for a lab, you guys just missed the duck swimming away, but to have a dog in complete obedience around distractions like this is fantastic. Being able to start them young is definitely part of that. Sage's inherent desire to work is another factor in that. Sage loves food, that also helps, so we can tell her there's just more communication tools that we can use if a dog really likes food to tell them that they're doing a good job and when they can release.
Duck dog, you can go duck hunt.
I know, right?
Wrong time of year, I think. We might get in trouble for that one. So being able to use that food drive to really help us learn, to help the dogs learn everything, and to continue to help them grow with all of the obedience that they have learned is really fantastic. So you can see there's a dog over here, and so Gina just took a few steps over. We always like to err on the side of caution, especially with other animals that we can't control. Sage doesn't have, she's not crazy reactive on the leash or anything like that, so it's less about, we're not so worried about what Sage's reaction is going to be, and we're just always conscious that other dogs might come up and do something that we really don't want them to do with our dog or to our dog or anything like that. So after a really hard walk with a lot of distractions, we had turns, we had sits, we had stops, we had downs, we had some stays, we had everything like that. We want to just break it up a little bit, and at the end we just want to end with a little bit of food work, have a little bit of fun, let Sage blow off a little bit of steam. We don't ask for a whole ton. Mostly we just want to make it some fun. So this is a really good time to work on recalls as well, and making them a ton of fun, especially for a dog like Sage who loves food so much.
Okay, Sage, go! Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Sage, go! Yes.
So this would be a really good time to play fetch or, you know, do something like that. That's a little bit less obedience. We like to come into new environments in an obedient state of mind so that the dog doesn't pay attention to, you know, all the other stuff going on. We really want them paying attention with us, but after 9.5 minutes of obedience, Sage is paying really good attention to us, so we're happy to blow off some steam with her. because we know she's not paying attention to the rest of the world. She really just wants to be with us.
Good girl. Sit. Good. Good girl, mamas.
Good girl, Sagies. Hi, Mama.
Sage, come. Yes. Sit. Good girl.
Yeah, Moms.
Yeah.
We're gonna miss you, big girls.